Ég heiti Steinlinn Bjornsdóttir og ég prestur í Hjallakirkju í Kópavogi sem þjóðkirkjusöfnuður hérna á höfuðborgarsvæðinu. So my name is Steinlinn Bjornsdóttir and I'm an ordained minister in the ELCI, the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Iceland, and I work in a parish called Hjallakirkja. I just came from a funeral where I was talking a little bit about eternal life, because a Christian funeral has the message of hope. And I knew, because I knew the people I was talking to, that not everyone shares a strong belief in the Christian faith. And therefore I pointed out the images that we have. Because when people in the Bible talk about eternity and the life ever after, they paint pictures. When they talk about heaven, they paint pictures. They describe something, and there are pictures like that God walks with you. I was reading from Isaiah 40, how the shepherd takes the small lambs in his arms and carries them and leads the mothers. And I find it so good to place myself within these images, because every time I read the Bible, I find that I am in some way part of the stories, and I can be many parts of the story. We know that when we're reading the gospel and we're talking about the gospel to the congregation, you say, you know, we are the disciples, but sometimes we're also this person or that person, and just think of where we are now. And in terms of the grace of God, I just find it so important to remind me continually in daily life that I'm carried like the lambs by God, because I have a very strong tendency to want to sort of start carrying everything myself. The pastor in sort of recent years, and I'm not talking about just few years, I'm talking about like the last few decades. Before that, being a pastor, it was perhaps, it was more a set thing. People knew what it meant. Your clothes sort of protected you. And then we started placing a lot of emphasis on the sort of person of the pastor, who the pastor is and how the pastor meets people, etc., etc. And I think that actually in itself has a certain danger that we have to be aware of, because you're much more likely to suffer burnout if you feel that the whole weight of the gospel rests on your shoulders and not actually on the office, and, you know, basically on God and not your shoulders. So, and that's how I often experience grace in my life. I experience that God sort of sits and goes, oh no, not again, my dear. Come, we're doing something. Because that's what I need. Again and again, I go, I'm carrying the world, and then God says, no, don't worry. You can go to sleep, I'll take care of the church.